Angel Reese's bikini pictures and half-naked videos on social media clearly aren't translating well to television, especially when it comes to ratings. It's strange, isn't it? In her very first game, Reese showed off her typical stubbornness and lack of flexibility, which led to her being benched by head coach Nola. And get this, when Reese was benched, the comeback happened. That alone should tell you something about the situation. Reese's debut was supposed to be a breakthrough moment, but instead, it was a disaster. She struggled to keep up with the fast-paced game, making choices that only hurt her team. In the game, Reese went 3 of 7 from the field, still not reaching that 50% mark. She also had 5 turnovers, 14 rebounds, and 10 points, but the most important stat? A big, fat L her team lost 79-73. It honestly looked like she was undermining her own team. What is going on here? Now, let's talk about her fan. They're out there in full force, celebrating her mid-level performance, trying to say it proves she's been working hard in the gym. Sure, she hit a jump shot. Congratulations, Angel. Reese entered the Premier Basketball League as if she were the next big thing, but instead, she's leaving with her reputation in tatters. The media has been pushing her as a mainstream celebrity, but the reality is, she just can't seem to draw the ratings or attention she's expected to. This whole disaster exposed Reese for what she really is, a hyped-up figure with little substance. She's not the mainstream star she thinks she is. When it mattered most, Reese was benched by Rose BC's head coach, Nola in the 4th quarter. Yes, you read that right, when her team needed her. The so-called future of the league was sitting on the bench. That's a level of humiliation most players never experience. Coach Henry, a smart and capable leader, knows exactly what she's doing. Reese clearly has some things to clean up. Meanwhile, another player, Stevens, posted his stat line that was laughable: 8 rebounds and just 6 points. You've really hit rock bottom when you're being benched for putting up numbers like that. But let's not pretend Nola is the only one to blame. Reese gave her every reason to disconnect and make sure her box score looked respectable. Sure, she finished with 10 points, but let's be real. Context matters. Those 14 rebounds and for assists, they're meaningless. They're the basketball equivalent of eating a bag of chips when your team needs a full, nutritious meal. Reese simply couldn't deliver the high-level performance needed for a fast-paced, competitive game. She's definitely racking up those double-doubles, points, rebounds, and, of course, losses. Meanwhile, as Reese struggled with checker, Ree Howard was out there playing chess, and Howard, let me tell you, her 33 points weren't just impressive, they made a statement. She hit 50% of her three-pointers and delivered clutch play after clutch play. Howard showed the world what a real star looks like. Meanwhile, Reese was missing layup, playing poor defense, and let's not forget she completely embarrassed herself with a failed block attempt. Whether it was a fall or not is debatable, but honestly, it wouldn't have mattered. She was out of position and out of her depth. That single moment pretty much summed up her entire night, a mix of failure and desperation. Reese finished with a team-high 14 rebounds, but also had 5 turnovers and for foul. She shot just 3 of 7 from the field, 42% tan, got benched for most of the 4th quarter. And don't even get me started on her defense. Her effort on that end was as useful as a submarine with a screen door. She couldn't protect a park bench, let alone someone like Howard, who was blowing past her every chance she got. Not only did Howard outplay Reese, she made Reese look like a junior varsity player who somehow ended up on a varsity court. Watching Howard dominate had to be like staring into the void for Reese, a hard, unmistakable reality check. Some people said she's a below average passer, a terrible passer, but she's trying, maybe, but it's clear her vision isn't quite there. You can see the passes Reese is trying to make, but she just can't get them right. Let's face it, Angel Reese isn't ready for this league. She entered based on her college success, thinking she'd sweep the floor, but the unmatched basketball league isn't interested in her overhyped antics. Players like Howard are the ones dominating in these major leagues. They don't just sit on the bench like Reese did in the 4th quarter if she doesn't step it up fast. That bench might become her permanent spot. Reese isn't evolving. She's just trying to keep up. Her debut wasn't a simple misstep, it was a full-on nosedive. Watching her on the court, it's clear she doesn't belong. It's like watching someone play a game they don't understand, awkward, out of place. Reese found herself at the center of the basketball world's disaster, largely thanks to Henry's questionable coach choices. She was desperately flailing in the flames of her own failure. Critics have slammed Henry for benching Reese, her so-called so-called top player at a crucial moment in the game. But honestly, can you blame her? Reese, the so-called future of the league, was as ineffective as a submarine with a screen door. Reese is playing like it's the 90s, relying on outdated post moves and brute strength. It's like giving someone a smartphone and watching them try to use it as a pager. Meanwhile, Henry is managing a high-energy, fast-paced system that demands agility and quick decision-making. Benchings like Reese's aren't mistakes, they're a last-ditch effort to save the game because she just wasn't keeping up. Oh, and speaking of disasters, Rose BC's offense, it was a complete mess. They committed more than 15 turnovers, which made it look like they were playing an intense game of hot potato, not basketball. Henry deserves some blame here, too, for designing offensive schemes that seemed like they were slapped together in 5 minutes. Before the tip-off, everything was a disaster: turnover, fouls, you name it. As one person pointed out, it was a mess, but we shouldn't let Reese off the hook. For someone who's been hailed as a potential MVP, she looked like she had never stepped foot on a basketball court. She was out of rhythm with her teammates and had no idea why she was even still on the floor. Henry's decision to bench her wasn't just some random punishment, it was a bright neon sign flashing. You're not cutting it. Reese might excel at padding her stat sheet with rebounds, but that's about as useful as a chocolate teapot when it comes to making a real impact on the game. Now, to be fair, Aja Wilson didn't have a great game either. She plays for the Indiana Fever, and even she struggled. But Angel Reese? After the game, she tried to do some bragging about her performance. Missed layups, poor decisions, you get the idea. And then, of course, her social media post backfired. It was all emotional drama. Reese, the queen of sentimentality, took to X, formerly Twitter, to express her love for Teresa Weatherspoon, her former coach, who she says really believed in her. She posted, "You didn't deserve this, but I love you, teaspoon," as if that would somehow erase the humiliation of the night. Let's be real, locker room issues are part of the game, and that's just something players have to deal with. But let's clarify one thing: no matter how sweet Reese and Weatherspoon's emotional bond may be, professional basketball doesn't care about your feelings. Reese was too caught up in posting love letters on social media. Meanwhile, Weatherspoon's Vinyl BC team was circling Rose BC, dominating the game. It's almost poetic that Weatherspoon, the coach Reese looks up to, was the one who helped orchestrate her downfall. Reese got so caught up in her sentimental feelings that she forgot to focus on the game. While she was reminiscing, Vinyl BC and Aja Howard were giving her a harsh reality check. And once again, Reese looked like a baby deer or a baby giraffe out there. Honestly, it's hard to believe someone so uncoordinated is a professional athlete. It's shocking, but this is the brutal reality. Angel Reese's credentials: 10 points, 14 rebounds, and for assists may look good on paper, but they don't reflect her true impact on the game. When it came down to it, Reese was benched instead of stepping up. And that's the moment everyone will remember from her debut. This was supposed to be her big chance to show the league that she was ready to take it by storm. Instead, it turned into a public humiliation. She was hailed as the centerpiece of Rose BC, but if this is what she's bringing to the table, Coach Henry might want to start looking for a replacement. This isn't just about one bad game, it's a wake-up call. While players like Ryan Howard are busy solidifying their superstar status, Reese is struggling to stay relevant. The gap between them, it's not just wide, it's an abyss. If Reese doesn't start climbing out of it soon, she might find herself falling deeper into obscurity until she's completely forgotten. This was more than just a loss, it was a humiliation. At this point, Angel Reese has become the epitome of what happens when hype meets harsh reality. Look at Caitlin Clark, she's the real draw. Clark made a brilliant decision by refusing to join this league. TNT begged her. They even offered her over $1 million for just 2 months of her time, but Clark knew better. What's next for Reese right now? She's not the player people thought she was, and this serves as a warning. Hype can only carry you so far before reality slaps you in the face. Let's face it, Angel Reese was hit by reality like a freight train. If she doesn't figure things out quickly, she won't just be benched, she'll be forgotten.